Hello ladies and gentlemen, Top Hat Gaming Man here. And if you've been following the gaming news, over the next 2 months they are going to be releasing 2 new games known as Shenmue and Shenmue 2 HD.
Yes.
But because I am who I am, I managed to play all of these games from the future. Yeah. So we've already been playing Shenmue on the stream prior to the game's release.
Wow.
How mad is that? Wow.
Yeah, amazing.
Crazily, I played this Shenmue game all the way back in the year 2000.
Early release.
Yes.
Yeah. Press
year
pass.
2000. So I got to play the game 18 years before it came out. However, Luke has only got to experience the game a couple of months before it came out. So he doesn't live quite as far into the future as I do. So what have you made of Shenmue in 2018?
Shenmue is a very visually impressive game.
I
can say that. I think that's the first thing we need to cover because it does look amazing.
When you consider they started making Shenmue HD all the way back in the 90s, it's a very impressive looking game.
Yeah, it is. It does look great. The storyline seems kind of typical, but again, it's good. I've got no problems with the storyline. It seems to sit well with me.
Well, it's a revenge storyline, isn't it? So you play as Ryu, and you're trying to find the man who murdered your father.
Yes.
So that's the main storyline. Yeah. However, who cares about who's murdered your father when you can just go to the arcades and play Space Harrier instead?
Yes.
Doesn't really matter, does it? Because your father's still going to be dead at the end of the day. So why not just play Space Harrier?
Yeah. What's the rush?
Exactly.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
There's no problems there. So again, storyline seems good. The arcades in the game is amazing. It's just awesome. The fact that you can play so many different games. And
I will say, jokes aside, obviously the original game came out in the year 2000, and it's set in 1986. I always found that very, very trippy at the time because you don't normally set things in such the recent past, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It'd be like making a game today, but setting it in the year 2004. It'd be odd, wouldn't it? Don't you think?
Yeah, no.
A game set in 2004 would be strange.
Yeah, no, we tend to go futuristic.
Yeah. Or we go to the past. We go to the 80s.
Yeah.
Or the 70s. But I suppose so. Shenmue was really the first game set retrospectively in the 80s.
Yeah.
And there's been loads of things set in the 80s, but Shenmue was the first. We're going back to the 80s for the first time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it happened first in Shenmue.
I can see you're really excited about this.
Because it was cool, wasn't it? 80s retro nostalgia started with Shenmue. That was the first nostalgia game, in my opinion.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. I can see that being the case.
So it kind of set a precedent for retro gaming.
Retro gaming?
Yes, retro gaming started with Shenmue.
Lovely. In
my opinion. And drew my interest with it anyway, going to the arcades, going back to the year I was born to play arcade games.
Yeah. So yeah, storyline's good, graphics are good.
Graphics are outrageous.
Yeah.
It took most other games a good 10 years maybe to catch up with Shenmue.
Yeah,
I'd say.
They are very, very impressive.
But I'd say it's also partially down to the ridiculously huge budget they spent on the game. It was the most expensive game ever made at the time.
Yeah.
And I believe GTA 5 holds that title now.
Yeah. Voice acting?
The voice acting seems bad, doesn't it?
It's not great.
But I've always liked it. It's got charm to it.
Yeah. Tom.
It's Tom.
Can we talk?
Can you do an impression of him?
No.
Why not?
Because I can't do Newcastle accents.
It's a Newcastle accent. It's not a Jamaican accent.
No, it's beyond that.
You just don't even know what Tom's voice to sound like.
Yeah, it's awful. Like the voice acting is very, very poor. The facials in the game, like the expressions on people's faces, are not great. They're not particularly in fitting with
everything else.
Yeah, everything else that's going on. But it's still nice. Like, it's a decent game. I can see why some people will be excited for.
What did you think of the capsule toys?
Yeah, microtransactions. I think that microtransactions. When it comes out again, you'll be paying 20p each for all of your little capsule toys.
Do you think?
Yeah, and they'll be harder to get, and there'll be super rare ones that are like shiny and sparkly.
Or you have to pay a lot of money to get those.
Yeah, they'll be like super rare, like 1 in 100.
Or loot boxes.
Yeah, where you get like 5 random ones, and you get like loads of the same all the time.
Scary thoughts, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what else do we get to do in Shenmue? Go to bars to look for sailors.
Yeah, we did this quite a lot.
In real life as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that it seemed a bit strange that it took so long to find out where the sailors were going to be. Bearing in mind that it's not a giant world.
And I like when, the fact that as well that he has a little notebook with him all the time to make notes, and he actually makes a note in his book that sailors hang out in bars. Like,
they do.
As if, why didn't he know that anyway?
Yeah, you'd think so.
Living in a coastal town, inferred his whole life, with a harbour nearby as well. That's the thing, if he lives near a harbour, surely the first place you're going to go to look for sailors would be the harbour.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you have to find a warehouse. And he spends, I think we were a bit silly, we went around the house a little bit when we were playing on stream and stuff, but yeah, the amount of time it took us to find somebody to tell us
where warehouse number 8 is.
That the warehouse is going to be at the harbour with the rest of the warehouses, bearing in mind that it's not that far away, short bus trip.
He should have known where it is.
He should have known where that was.
So that's the thing, why is he so oblivious to everything? Maybe his father was a little bit like Joseph Fritzl and he wasn't allowed to leave his house before he died.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the plot twist in Shenmue 3.
Maybe, yeah. He wants to find the person that killed his father because he's upset that he got released into the world too early and he feels like he's sheltered.
Yeah, so he had some kind of Stockholm syndrome.
Maybe he wants to thank him. Yes. Or maybe he wants to thank the person that killed his father for setting him free.
Yeah, plot twist. Lundy's actually the good guy in the situation.
Is that his name?
Yeah, we just don't know that yet.
Okay, yeah.
So what else in regards to everything? So we've covered sailors, we've talked about arcades.
Kicking footballs into people's faces.
Oh yes, that was rather odd as well.
Why is a martial artist
good at football?
Good at football as well, just for no reason, with no backstory.
Because if that was the case, if he was a Premier League team, you would just hire really good martial artists to play for you instead. If playing football and martial arts were the same thing, then there would be some crossover, and there isn't. So someone try and explain that to us in the comment section, because I really didn't get that part at all.
No. What else is there about Shenmue? What else do we do? We haven't got to the forklifts. Stuck in a forklift hell for like hours.
Okay, yeah. So
hours.
it gets to that point where you're saving up money because you want to go to China. To look for the man who killed your father, and then you get a job as a forklift truck driver, and then you spend hours and hours and hours in this forklift hell, waking up every day, just driving your forklift around, lifting crates and like putting them down in spots.
Yeah.
And with this portion of the game as well, you just see him wake up out of bed, and then you see a cut of him on the bus, and then he's at work, and then you finish it, and then it goes. The foreman or whatever rings the bell and says work's over for the day.
Nice.
And then you kind of get stuck in that loop for a long time.
Realism.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
And that's why it couldn't have been set today, because if it was set today, he would have just set up a Just Giving page.
That's true.
And he would have just got sent there.
That brings a point actually, speaking of the arcades, I was talking about this in the stream. In Shenmue 2, you've got the arcades as well, but that's Hong Kong.
Mm-hmm.
Shenmue 3 is set in mainland China. As far as I'm aware. So therefore, surely they can't put the arcades in this one because arcades were banned in China over that period, as far as I'm aware.
Black market arcades.
So there's either going to be a black market arcade in this game, like you said, or it's going to have like some sort of Famiclone or something to play in his bedroom.
It won't.
You think there'll be just a black market arcade?
I think there'll just be an arcade. I don't think they'll pay any real relevant.
You don't think they'll play historical relevance? I suppose so. There's a bloody Sega Saturn in his kitchen. And it's set in 1986, so sometimes they do seem to screw up the
timelines.
Yeah.
So I think they'll just brush over and just be like, the arcades were a thing that people want. We'll put another arcade in, and then they'll be like, oh wait, we couldn't have done.
Something else I thought about for another potential video in the future. I don't know what you think. Is go around our local town and ask the local people some of the questions which Ryu goes around and asks in Shenmue. Do you think that would be a good idea?
I think that you probably just want to get me punched in the face.
So you go up to some people and say, hi, do you know where sailors hang out? How do you think people will react?
I think that people might just punch me.
What about if you go into the local Chinese restaurant and say, hi, do you know any Chinese people?
Yeah, I think that maybe I'll get kicked in the face there. Is that alright?
Maybe.
Can I say that?
Maybe. I don't know.
I think that it could be funny, and I haven't had a black eye for a while.
Yes, we'd ask other people all sorts of questions. Have you seen a black car?
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, just really stupid questions, see what happens. Just.
Well, also with Shenmue, what did you think about the real timeness? If you know what I mean. So you had to wait for a certain time of day in Shenmue time to do the next thing.
I think that it's okay. And gave you opportunity to use the arcades and made them vaguely relevant. Although, if you didn't have spent all that time in the arcades, maybe you'd have enough money to get to China.
Yeah, that's true. You're right. Probably right.
Yeah.
But with regards to Shenmue as well, do you perhaps think that? Do you think it's overlooked at all today?
I don't think that lots of people really. Most people that I know, like people are really, really excited about the Crash remake. People are really excited about the Shenmue remake. Not Shenmue, sorry, Spyro remake. I've heard people calling for a Medieval remake. But nothing.
All those games are really rubbish in comparison to Shenmue, so that doesn't make much sense to me. But I suppose most people are just basic twats, aren't they? So every moron played Spyro and Crash, so every moron's going to be excited about it today. Well, true gaming connoisseurs like myself owned games like Shenmue back in the early 2000s.
Well, I'm excited about Spyro.
I'm not. I'm not excited about Shenmue either because I've already got it.
Yeah.
So even I'm not excited about any of this. I've got all the Spyro games, I've got all the Crash games, I've got all the Shenmue games. So it's annoying seeing them remade over and over.
Yeah, I mean, it brings it out to a different audience. I haven't seen a lot of hype about the Shenmue series apart from people that really know what they're talking about. Which isn't.
So nerds on YouTube, basically. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. No one else.
I mean, it's good in a way because the games are good. They're really solid games. I think they still stand up today as far as playability. So it'll bring that kind of enjoyment that you had on your first experience with Shenmue. It'll bring that to a whole new group of people.
I'm not quite so sure about that. Only on the basis that it was so impressive in the year 2000, but there's nothing really impressive today about open sort of worlds. They've got open worlds in like every game.
Do you think they'll just start comparing it to GTA and be like...
That's exactly what people will be doing because they're stupid.
Yeah, I can see that being the case as well, I suppose.
So I don't think people who are experiencing it for the first time will enjoy it so much because they just take it for granted.
Yeah. So I think if you say like all the selling points of Shenmue, and people are really like, oh wow, and then they'll get it and be like, well, actually, GTA's better.
That's what I can imagine happening, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay.
And IGN will give it something like 6 out of 10 bad graphics, or something like that. That's what will happen.
Yeah. No, graphics not great. Yeah, I can really see that being a thing.
Yeah.
Which is depressing, really, because again, I think the game holds up well.
I really like Shenmue, and I love Shenmue.
I think that's the first time you've ever said that.
Well, I love something.
Yeah.
I love Shenmue.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, people of the comment section, let us know whether you're cultured enough to enjoy Shenmue, or you're just the sort of riff-raff who has to play stuff like Crash and Spyro instead. Let us know in the comment section. Yeah. Cheerio!